If you've ever done any vibe coding, you'll know that AI can be extremely unpredictable when it comes to generating UI. This results in a lot of wasted time, frustration, and burnt tokens going back and forth with your coding agents to get things just right. This can be an especially big challenge on existing projects where adherence to existing UI and UX patterns is key. If you've struggled with this problem, you need to check out Pencil, an AI native design tool that works seamlessly with leading platforms like Cursor, Claude Code, and Codex. Pencil allows you to quickly generate UI mockups and then feed those designs to your coding agents. In this video, I'm going to highlight how to use Pencil on an existing project. As product builders, we rarely have the opportunity to work on a clean slate. It is much more often the case that we're working on an existing project, adding features or enhancing functionality in a way that must be coherent with all of the existing design paradigms. Without a tool like Pencil, it can be very difficult to get AI to achieve these kinds of precise results. With Pencil, the process is dramatically simplified. Let's dive in and take a look. First up, we're going to head over to Pencil.dev and we're going to download the app. Once you have the product installed, click up here on Agents. Note that under the hood, Pencil uses Claude Code or Codex. So if you have either one of those products already installed and you're using it from your command line, this should just work right out of the box. Next, click up here on Set Repository and navigate to your desired repo. Next, I'm going to take a screenshot of the portion of my application that I want to modify, and I'm going to drop it here in the chat. Then I'm going to prompt the AI to start building. Please recreate this UI exactly. Pay close attention to details like spacing, layout, and colors. And then what's super cool is because this has access to my repository, I can also point it at additional context. Reference my Tailwind config for additional design guidance, such as color tokens. A couple of other quick things I'll mention here. You can select your model. In this video, I am going to use Opus. I will mention that I've had pretty good results with Sonnet as well, which is obviously more token efficient. So I would encourage you to play around with different models and see what kind of results you get. Additionally, Pencil does allow you to select multiple agents running in parallel. This will get you the design faster. Obviously, it will use more tokens as well. I'm going to select 3, not only because I want to get the design done a little bit faster, but I also want to show you something really cool that Pencil did with the user experience. Once that's all set, I'll go ahead and fire the agents off and let them get to work. All right, here you can see the multiple parallel agents working on the design. I have to say that I love the way Pencil did this. It might seem a little silly and gimmicky, but I actually think it's a really neat way to visualize and understand how multiple agents are attacking the problem. And also, it just looks super cool to watch Pencil build this way. All right, so this is not bad at all for a first pass. There are definitely some things here that I want to tighten up. Some of the spacing here is a little bit loose. We've obviously got some problems here on the sidebar. So we're going to do a little bit of back and forth with the AI now to show how this process of refinement can work inside of Pencil. I do want to mention very quickly that I did run into an error message down here in the chat that said there was a problem with Claude Code. I did have to restart the app and unfortunately had to start a new chat thread as well in order to clear that error. So this is an early version of Pencil.dev. They are releasing updates on a regular basis, so expect to run into some of those bugs if you do jump into the product. For now, what I'm going to do is grab a new screenshot and place it here in the thread so that this new chat has all of that context. And we're going to start to do some of those refinements. If you've ever done any of this with AI, kind of going back and forth on UI, it can be a fairly painful process trying to describe using just words the portion of the user interface that you would like to modify. What's really nice about doing this inside of Pencil is that I can easily select the element that I want to change. So I'll click out here in the design itself, and you can see that when I have this element selected, it automatically loads as context into the chat window. You can also see the name of it up here in the top right corner. So if you want to reference elements by name, it gives you that option as well. For now, I'm going to say the vertical spacing on the items in the task list is a little too large. Look closely at the screenshot provided and tighten up the spacing accordingly. For this, I'm going to set this back down to 1 agent just to be a little bit more token efficient, and I'll let this do its thing. All right, that looks a lot better. Next thing I'm going to do is repeat the process here for the sidebar. Take a look at the bottom of the sidebar. We have elements spilling over the bottom. Tighten that up. If I wanted to be really picky, there are definitely things here that I could continue to modify to make this a more perfect match with my existing UI. But for our purposes, this is good enough. And we're going to move to the next step, which is explaining to the AI inside of Pencil what the new feature is that we would like to build. A couple of quick housekeeping things I like to do before I start editing. Number one, I'm going to come up here to File and select Save As. And I'm going to make sure that this file is saved inside of the repository where I'm working. So I keep a folder in that repo called Design. I'm going to select that folder, and I'm going to rename the file Context Mockups. Once that file is saved, one more thing I want to do is copy and paste this frame. And I'm going to drag the new one down here. That'll give me this original one that we work on as a fallback or reference in case I want to do other design work. Now I'm going to come down here to the new frame that I created, and I'm going to rename it Context App Activity Feed. Now this will be the frame that we work on to do our additional design work. Next, I'm going to give the AI a detailed prompt here. It says, starting from the selected frame, I'll make sure this frame is selected. Context App Activity Feed, design a new variant that shows what the app looks like when a user clicks on a new activity section in the left sidebar. So we're going to add a new activity section down here between the inbox and the tags section. I'm letting it know in the right side, which is what it refers to as this main section here, to replace the task list with an activity feed, design it as a chronological digest grouped by relative date headers today, yesterday, this week, for example. And then I'm giving it additional details to populate the feed with completed task events, but design it so that it's extensible. In the future, I might want to add other events here or other entities, I should say, like email activity or Slack messages and so forth. Giving it a bunch of additional detail here. And then down here, match the existing app's dark theme, typography, spacing, and teal accent color exactly. And then once again, I am referencing the Tailwind configuration file for additional details. So I've given it a bunch of guidance here. I'm going to select Opus 4.7, three parallel agents, and I'm going to go ahead and fire this off. You can see here what it came back with. This is pretty much a one-shot. I did have to give it one additional prompt in order to fix some overflow issues here on the sidebar. But more or less, this is what it came back with on the first try. You could, of course, go back and forth and continue to refine the design here, but I think for our purposes, this is good enough. We're going to move to the next and final step, which is pointing Claude Code at this design and having it build out the actual feature with your design specifications in mind. I've jumped over into Cursor and I've got Claude Code open in a terminal window here. You can see that I've given Claude a short prompt that says I want to build a new activity feed view into context, use the Pencil MCP server, and reference the context app activity feed frame in context mockups.pen, which once again is that Pencil file that I've saved here in the repo in this design folder. And then I'm telling the AI to build exactly what you see there. For this demo, I'm going to have it build front end only. We're not going to worry about back-end wiring or database structures or anything like that. So I'm telling it to use hard-coded mock data with no IPC calls, and then again, use Tailwind tokens from the Tailwind configuration file. So just some basic guidance here. You can see that I'm leaning pretty heavily on this Pencil file in order to tell Claude exactly what it is that I want to be built in terms of the visual aesthetic. So let's fire this prompt off and we will see what it comes back with. The build has finished here, and if I jump over to my context application, you can see here what it came back with. And then if I jump over to Pencil, you can see that it is pretty much a perfect match. If you had additional feedback, you could, of course, continue to go back and forth and iterate with Claude Code. One of the other really cool things is that this works both ways. So if you are working with Claude Code and you come up with changes to the design during the actual build out, you can then very easily point Claude Code back to Pencil and have it update the design file so that you've always got a design file that is perfectly in sync with the actual application. That's going to do it for this video. As a quick recap of what we did, we first installed Pencil. Then we grabbed a screenshot from our existing application and used that as a baseline inside of the Pencil app to come up with an initial design file. From there, staying within the Pencil app, we made some modifications to design a new feature that we wanted to build in the application. We were then able to jump over into Cursor and point Claude Code at that design. And you can see here again that with just one very high level short prompt, it matched the design perfectly. So if you've ever found yourself struggling to get the UI dialed in just right, I would highly recommend that you give Pencil a look. It is free at the time of this recording. I'm sure it will not be free forever, but it's a great tool and I have found it super helpful. I hope you do as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe to my channel as I'll be doing more of these videos in the future. Thanks again for watching. Take care.